Welcome back to Jessica's Craft Time. My name's Jessica, and today we're working on our Christmas house. I hope you're all having a lovely day. So, we're starting off with the tray for our turkey. All the pieces I've already pre cut, ready to go. This one's got a lot of very similar things to do. So, I've just scored the lines on this little box, and we need to cover it in foil. I did find that the flaps were sticking up a little bit, so I just used a little bit of PVA glue just to sort of glue the flaps down a little bit. I didn't think they needed to be glued down perfectly because we're going to cover it in foil, so the foil was going to hold it all down. The PVA glue that I used, I've just put into one of those little squeezy bottles with a fine tip nib. I find that's really good for just getting a thin line of glue. You can't use the fine tip nibs with anything that's got too thick a glue, but the PVA is okay. And I've just folded this all around, sort of squished the sides, cut off any extra and glued the base. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's going to be covered in trays, in the turkey and bits and pieces. Now I've got a couple of little bits of wire that I've just bent into the shape of a handle. I've used a tacky glue here because I think it's going to hold it in place a little bit better than the PVA. It's a little bit thicker. Um, I really, really need to get something onto my tweezers and get rid of all the extra glue on my tweezers because I keep trying to put things down and the glue on the tweezers keep pulling it back off again. But I just played with it until I got it to a place that I thought I liked and then stuck the turkey in. Then we got this sort of bag of moss, so I just chopped them up a little bit and covered the area around the outside. I've tried to get the glue out of this one here, and this is my tacky glue, which I'd like to use, but I just am having a lot of trouble getting it out of the nib. I think it's too thick a glue, so I've gone back to my PVA, put it around the turkey and a little bit on top of the turkey, and then just cut little bits of the moss off and pop them on um, until I was satisfied and happy with what was there. Um, Once I was happy with how much I got in, we were done. And the little turkey's done. I like to put things on the trays once I'm done until they're dry, and that just gives it a chance that I can move it around without disturbing it. Now we're going to work on a little bit of a candle. It's a little bit of white wire that I just twisted, and that's going to be our candle. I've grabbed the E6000 glue whenever I'm working on bits of metal. I like to use the E6000. It's just got a little bit of a wire bit here. I keep dipping each bead into the E6000 and putting it on the wire. This is the base for the candle holder. And then I had to work out how to get it into the actual base to hold it up. And of course, everything's stuck to my tweezers, so I must remember to get some eucalyptus glue, eucalyptus oil, or something to clean them off. I'm just cutting a little bit of a flame out of the extra fabric, and this is why you shouldn't throw any of your little bits of extra fabric out, because things like this are not necessarily on the templates for the fabric, but you do need little bits and pieces here. I keep all my extra bits and keep them in a box. So I've got all my extra bits from houses. Had a great deal of trouble trying to get it to stand up, but it did. It stood up eventually, so I was happy with that. Um, Now, what are we doing here? Oh, we're making little cups. So they were just stuck onto a little bit of the yellow felt, a bead stuck on. Yet again, I'm using the E6000, and a little bit of metal was bent to be the handles of the cup. So they were fairly simple to make. I do enjoy making these little bits like this, and I've popped them off to the side just to dry until we're ready. These are all going on the little table, and I got glue on my container. Couldn't get it off. It was stuck. So here's our little table, just using some of the tacky glue again and sticking the fabric on. I will probably have to go back and try and get something to stick that fabric down the side of the table because it was sort of sticking up, and we've just stuck the beads on for the legs. Now we're on to all the gift boxes. So there was lots and lots and lots of gift boxes. I didn't score them. I just used my fingers to bend them round. There's a lot of them. So what I've done here is there's sort of 3 flaps to the box. Now this first one I didn't do. I took the tape off all of it and then got myself in a sticky mess. But you'll see in the later ones, I took the tape off the side flaps first and then kind of pushed the flap over. You'll see in this one, I left it with just the side bits, glued down the flap, and then took off the last bit of tape and glued the base on. So my double-sided tape has definitely got to work out in this miniature house. I haven't used nearly as much glue and lots of double-sided tape. I did the 3 sides on this one, so I think it's the next one I decided to not do that last little flap until after I'd stuck it down. And we just keep going and going and going. There's an open box in this and some smaller boxes, but they all work in a similar way. You could score the edges if you wanted, but I found it was alright just to use it, just to fold with my fingers. I did go along and fold all the pieces first. So this is the one I did the side pieces first. Put the flap up, took the tape off that, and then put the other flap down. The last flap I found it helped if you bent it back the wrong way, so it was really out of your way. It wasn't, it wasn't in your way whatsoever. And then it made it a lot easier to just push that over at the last end. The tape is, yeah, I did get my fingers stuck a lot, but, they all worked out in the end. Excuse me. So we just repeat and repeat and repeat over and over again so that we've got all the goodies under the Christmas tree and around the house. So there's actually 2 Christmas trees in this room. There's the felt one that we made in the last episode, and then there's more of a wire one that came as a wire tree already. I'm not sure, later down I was looking back over the pictures and they have this white snow-like stuff around a lot of the outside, but I'm having a feeling that it might be too busy, so we'll see when we get to the end whether I like it or not, and whether I put it on or not. I am following the instructions, but at the end of the day, this is your own project and you can do as you like with it. You don't have to follow the instructions. You don't have to put all the pieces in. You can make it whatever you like. So you'll see how I changed. Once all these boxes are done, I did do my own little thing with stacking them. And that's just because I hate making tiny, tiny little bows. But I think it still looks good. Whoever's looking at it's not going to know that in the original one they were in a bow. So we'll see. If I find that when I put them in, I want to put a bow on them, I will. If not, I'll just leave them off. So by this point, I was well and truly knowing what I was doing to stick them down and just smashing them out. We're getting there. We're down to, I think this one was the open box. So I don't think I used much glue on this one. Because the flaps, this was very similar to the turkey box. The flaps all came over. I did it, that's right, I did decide just on 2 sides. I just used the Tombow glue on 2 sides just to hold it open. This will be used later to put something in. I can't remember what it was. These tiny little ones, these are really, really little, these. So what I decided was the end flap that sort of glued all the sides together, I used a really little bit of tape. I took the tape off the edge flaps on this one and I shouldn't have. I decided for the others I wouldn't. It was a little bit tiny. So what I did was wrapped it around and created a box first, and then the edges I just stuck in. So the end little flap, put a bit of glue on that, glue so that it becomes like a box. And then once the box was together, I could take the tape off the edge flaps and push it down onto those other little flaps there. I think these ones are actually going to be ornaments on the tree. They haven't been used. We didn't end up using them up in this one. So lots and lots of tape. Just remember again, when you're using tape, to use your scissors that you use just for tape. You don't want to use your scissors that you use for paper craft or fabrics, because you will get glue residue on them. And there's all your little, I found one more box. I think when I moved it too, I actually found another little box that I ended up having to put together later. There was just so many of them. And they took a really long time to cut out as well. I reckon the cutting out almost took longer than it did to actually make them. Now this one's a little gift bag, so it just needs the sides stuck together. So just 2 little bits down the side flaps, and then it had ribbon as a handle on it. So I just used double-sided tape on the ribbon and sort of stuck it in with the tweezers. Did the one side first, should I say, and then made sure that I knew where the tape needed to be on the second side. And that's our little gift bag done. Now these were some pictures that we made in our last episode, and they just needed to be hung on the wire. And it took me a little bit to decide how to do it. And in the end, I just used a double-sided tape without pulling the backing off. I just stuck it over the back. And I did a whoopsie there. I used my normal craft scissors to cut the paper. Naughty, naughty. They're probably hanging a little bit further down the wire than what they were meant to be, but I know that they're going to be secure like this, so I was happy with that. Now we're going to be doing another little gift box. Just a little, this was the one that I lost. This was the one that must have been under the tray. When I moved the tray, I found it. It's just a square little box. These ones are a little bit more difficult. These are round. So the first one I did, I changed the way I did it later on, but I got the tape and I cut it in half. And I ran it round all the little flaps that you'd folded under. I peeled it off and then stuck the larger bit around. I thought there's no point doing one little bits of tape for each flap. I'll just do one long bit. It's going to be tacky on the inside, but that doesn't matter. I used the tweezers just to make sure that it was all stuck, and then you make the lip of the lid. Now what I did with the second one was, instead of sticking it on the lid, I stuck it on the flap bit. And I think that worked easier because it was pulling in a little bit. You can see I just snipped it there. I pulled the flaps in a bit so it wasn't quite, it was sort of coming in. So the second one I actually put the tape straight on the strap, and I wish, on the flat piece, and I wish I had have done that with the bottom as well, but I didn't, so that's okay. This one I needed a little bit more tape, I think. Oh no, I had enough. And just run it round. Use your finger to hold it in place. And it had a little bit of an extra, so it's just a little bit of extra tape on the end to stop it, glue it down. And your tweezers yet again to get in there and push it. It was this one here that I decided to go on the back of the actual flat strip. And I think it worked better, so I wish I had have done that earlier. And around we go. Now, for some reason, This one was just a little bit too big, so I put a bit of tape across the top of it, just so once I put the lid down, it was stuck there and wasn't coming off. We've got one other box to do, and I'm not sure why this box was slightly different. But this one had the long strip I'd cut bits in, and it had a round circle. So what I did was put the double-sided tape over the whole of the bottom of the circle, folded all those little flappy bits in, and then just ran it around the edge. So I don't know why this box was slightly different. I guess because it didn't have a lid. I did have a little bit of a flap that I ended up putting a bit of glue on, just to join the two edges together. And then I did the same with the top. So I just stuck tape on a bit bigger than what the top was and cut around the edge. Pulled the backing paper off and just stuck this down on the top. So I'm now, pretty good at getting the boxes put together after doing so many. And now I'm just sorting them sort of according to the picture, what boxes go in what stack of presents. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, it's yours. You can put more, you can put less. I was just trying to get them very similar. So to stack the boxes, I put a bit of tape in between each box and stuck the boxes together. And then I just put a bit of tape on the top of the stack and on the bottom of the stack, and I put the ribbon round and tape the ribbon to the bottom of it. Doesn't matter, it's still tacky at the bottom because that'll just help it adhere to whatever surface it's finishing up on. Like I said, I didn't put bows on this. I'm really bad at making those tiny bows. They really frustrate me and get me quite annoyed. So at this stage, I've just wrapped ribbon around each pile of presents. If I find that I really do need a bow on it later down the track, then I can easily just put a bow on it. It's no big deal. But right now, I've just wrapped the ribbon around. So they're all done. Then we had a couple of single boxes. I just checked to see where they were meant to go in the picture, and these were meant to have bows as well, but I did the same. I just wrapped it round, made sure I had enough ribbon for the two, and wrapped it around the present. And we're almost done with all of our making today. I've enjoyed this. We only have a couple more to go. Lots of fiddly bits, but it's all going to come together soon. So we've got all our little presents there. So I hope you've had a really, really lovely day. Excuse me. Oh, I realised here I hadn't finished making the table. And it's really wobbly on the two legs. So I ended up trying to sit it on trays. And in the end, when I took the photo, I ended up putting washi tape underneath. But we'll see how it goes when we have to put it in the house. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.